Hi, it's Raquel with Balloon Splendor. Today I'm going to show you how to create three different Independence Day items that you can pitch to your clients. The first one is an American flag mural. There's a few different ways to do it, so let's get started. So we're going to start with the column, and the American flag has 13 stripes in it, so ideally we would have 13 rows, and the column that I have here only has 10, so we need to add 3 more rows to it. So what I'm going to do is select it and ungroup it, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in 3 more rows. And I'm going to select it from the bottom because I want the set that has 2 facing forward so that I can put it up on top. So I'm going to select them, hit Control C for copy and Control V for paste, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag it up here just like that, and the spacing on that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and reselect it, group it, and do a lock aspect ratio so it stays proportional when I go to resize it, just like that. Okay, so now we need to color it in, and to do an actual flag that's proportionate, I found doing 7 columns across, and the first 4 have the blue star part in it, and then the rest of it is red and white stripes. That seems proportionally to work out really well. So for this demonstration I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're just going to do some red and white stripes, and then I'm going to do a blue, well no, we'll go ahead and make the actual flag. So I learned something. I learned that even though this is grouped, I can double click and these little black doohickeys show up. I can go ahead and do that and I can still color it in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the other ones here, and I'm able to select more than one by holding my shift key down. So double click, hold the shift key down, double click again. Okay, so there's the 2, 4, 6, 7 stripes, and then the rest of these are going to all be blue. So you know what, in the interest of time I'm going to go ahead and ungroup it, and I'm just going to select them this way and color them in blue. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and reselect it and regroup it and do my lock aspect ratio again. Okay, so there it is. Now I know that Qualatex, for example, has some different star printed balloons. The one I happen to like to use is one that has the white star on the top. So we're going to pretend that that's the one we're using. And I'm just going to shrink it down here a little bit. So I got all distorted because I didn't do the lock aspect ratio on it. I should have done that first, but I didn't. So that's what happens when you don't do it. Okay, so there's a star, and I can copy and I can, whoops, I can copy and paste. You got to make sure you select the thing you want to copy, otherwise it's just going to paste the last thing you copied, which in this case was those rows. So you can sit there and meticulously add in all your stars. Just like so. So the reason why I'm not doing these balloons over here is because the top of it is actually going to be facing over here, so you really wouldn't see it from the front. In fact, technically these would be over a little bit too, but I think this is close enough. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and group that again because these stars were now individual elements. And okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy and paste. So there's 1, and we're going to paste again, and there's 2, for 3 total, 4, 5, whoops, what am I doing here? I only wanted 4 of them like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this last one here, we're going to actually ungroup and what am I doing? I am so tired. Forgive me here. I'm going to get rid of these stars. And I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, I got to ungroup it again. Okay, we're going to ungroup it again. I'm going to go ahead and color them all white for a moment. And then I'm going to go in and select every other one and color those in red. So that's another way to do it. Again, I'm just holding down the Shift key to do a group select. Okay, so I'm not going to select all those again. We're going to regroup it. And we're going to do a log aspect ratio again to keep it proportionate. And then I can do a copy, paste, paste. And that'll give me a few more of my columns here. And then we can line them all up real pretty. So you'll see this little pink line that shows up when things line up. That's kind of an easy way to tell if things are lined up. And the other thing that you can also do too, which I think is actually hidden in my screen right now. I'll show you that another time. Okay, so here we are with the flag. Now obviously these are spaced out. If you wanted to bring these in a little closer together, you can. If these were actual balloon columns, all these balloons would be the same size, and there would still be a little bit of a gap in between them, right? Okay, so depending on your application, this is okay. And I can show you another way to do it too if you want to get rid of that, but it is very, very tedious. So for purposes of a quote, I would do it this way and I would call it good. And then when I actually did it, I would have my balloons alternating, or yeah, I'd have them alternating so that I can actually put them together and there wouldn't be any gaps in between them. But I can go ahead and show you how to do that. Let me go ahead and group this. And I'm going to set this aside for now. And let's go ahead and call in some new columns here. Copy and paste. And I'm going to show you how you can stagger these. So when we stagger the columns, I think it's called an alternating pack maybe. Anyway, what happens is these duplets from a top view. Alright, let's give you a top view here. Let's see. So a top view, go ahead and make these both 0.5. And let's go ahead and square them up. Okay. Those are squared up a little bit here. This isn't going to be perfect, but you'll get the idea. So from a top view, that's what the quad looks like, right? That's what this one looks like right here. So from copy and, whoops, my clipboard is busy. Copy and paste, there we go. So from a top view, when we rotate this a little bit, this balloon is going to slide in right here, like that, okay? Copy and paste. I'm not lining these up real precise here. But anyway, you get the idea. So what happens is this quad right here is this one here. And this quad are these guys right here. And so this balloon right here kind of gets sandwiched in there a little bit as this one nestles in there too. So that's what we see here. We see a little bit of that overlapping. Get these lined up a little bit better here. Okay, and so what ends up happening is we have to ungroup these, and we need to pull them forward or pull them backwards depending on where they're going. So this middle column here, the duplets that are facing forward end up getting pulled forward, because the ones where there's 3 balloons showing, this balloon right here is being hidden partially by the one forward. I'm not making any sense, but I'm hoping with me doing this over and over again enough times that you can kind of see what I mean here. So here's the duplet, the balloon with the quad that has the 3 showing. That quad, that balloon there needs to go back. Okay, see how that works? And that's what happens in reality. So when you're doing these digital mock-ups, you need to be thinking about what's happening in reality. Okay? What you're actually going to be doing with the balloon. So that looks pretty good there. You can see how it's a solid wall, okay? And so then when we go in and start, I think these are all still, let's go ahead and ungroup them all. So when we start coming in and coloring in our stripes, like that, and then let's say we were going to do this hanging upside down. I didn't grab enough of that. And now we've got something happening that's the reverse of that. Let's get rid of these. Okay, and now these are more tightly nested together than the example was over here. So that's another way to do it if you want to go through the tedious process of moving them together and forcing the ones that need to be layered up on the top. Remember, that's what these buttons do here. Then have at it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and we have our flag over here. So that was one of the items that we did. And so the other item that I came up with for a quote was what I called a fireworks column. So we're going to again go with the column, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and take one of these. So I'm going to ungroup it again, because for my quote, I actually did keep it all consistent. So if I were to sell the flag, I'd want maybe this to be like an entrance decor or something. So let's go ahead and shrink that. Oh, look at that. I didn't do my log aspect ratio on that because I didn't do that. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and shrink that down. And I think over here in my tools, I have, is that the one I want? Yeah, that's the one. We can go ahead and use that. So this would be maybe like some 260s popping out of there. I'll go ahead and send that back. And I would actually have them in white in reality. So to show that that would be white, let's go ahead and draw a box. And we can go ahead and leave it in that color right there. And now I can come in here and change my line colors to white. And I'm also going to thicken these up a little bit, because if they were actually 260s, they'd be a little thicker. Alright, and let's say, actually I think for my quote I did them more like 350s. So I'm going to go ahead and thicken them up a little bit more. And the reason why I pitched them as 350s is because I want to take some of the 9-inch hearts and attach them on there. So we're going to do 2 of those, and one of them is going to be red, and one of them is going to be the blue. And I'm just going to put them on the ends here. And proportionately, you know, you could do them any way you want. You know, you could stay with the 260, and you could do the little 4-inch stars, or you could do 350s and 9-inch stars, or you know, whatever floats your boat, whatever you think is going to look good for your client. So I could even come in here and copy and paste. I can't see that. If I wanted to just pull one of these strands out and turn it a little bit more, you know, that would be like bending the balloon a little bit more. If you wanted to fill it out more, if you want to, you know, tweak it however you want to tweak it. If you needed, you know, however you want to do that. If you want to rotate it, another way to rotate it is to come up here and do a free rotate, and then you can grab the little green bar and you can just turn it like that. You want to fill it out a little bit more that way. What's another way you can rotate it? You can come in here, and if you want to be really specific, you can come in and do, I don't know, 135-degree rotation on it. If you wanted to do something really symmetrical, you can flip them horizontal. You can flip them any way you want. There's a whole bunch of different ways to, I grabbed the wrong one, whole bunch of different ways to rotate them and spin them around and do all that. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and bring it to the front. Okay. I'm going to pull my star forward also. Oops, I didn't select the star. Oh, I keep selecting the wrong thing. Well, this might help if I zoomed in. There we go. Okay. So now we can see a little bit better as to what I'm doing here. And I can send that one back. So anyway, those are some different ways to do it. You can position, the stars around until you're satisfied with how it looks. If you want it really full, however you want to do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way just for a moment so I can select these and get rid of them. I lost one. Okay, so that's a fireworks column. And so the other design I came up with was an Uncle Sam. And let's go ahead and build them right here. So again, it's based on the column. I keep things really simple. And we're going to shrink them down because we're going to actually add a little bit to them. So the first row I thought would be his shoes. So let's go ahead and select those. And his shoes are going to be black, but instead of selecting black, I like to go with a little bit of a gray tone. It just seems to show up a little bit better. And then we're going to do a row of red for his pants. Red, white. Go ahead and do these red here. White. And then we're going to do these all in blue for his top. And you can pick whatever pattern you want. I just picked something kind of basic here. Okay? So that's his body. And let's go ahead and do a 3-foot blush head on there. Okay, so that was a pretty close circle on there. So let's go ahead and change the color, whoops, to blush. About there. And I like to keep my lines kind of light. So that's a little bit of a big head. Let's go ahead and shrink that down a little bit, maybe a 1.2. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, and I would be pulling him down nice and tight, so we're going to send him back. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here and draw some features on him. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw some eyes. I'm going to draw a couple of little eyes. Blue is great, so I'm going to do 2 of those. Let's go ahead and make the lines a little bit smaller on both of them. Copy, paste. And eyeballs tend to be pretty close to the center of your face. So let's go ahead and do that. And then for the nose, we'll cheat here. Let's go ahead and make another nose, and let's do this one a little bit, not that big, let's do 0.2. That's a little too big, so 0.15. Okay. We'll do a little nose here, and we're going to change that to a flesh tone. And then let's go ahead and give him a mustache and some eyebrows, some other features. So I found down here in Flowchart, there's a thing called a Terminator, and I liked this because it had the ends of it were a little more rounded. And I thought that looked a little bit more like a 260 or a 160. So let's go ahead and turn that white. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, I'm going to put it right under his nose. And let's go ahead and do another one. Let's do it this way. Do it white, And this can be like, I don't know, his long skinny goatee beard thingy. Okay. Oh. And you know, you can fuss around with this as much as you want. Let's go ahead and do a couple more for his little eyebrows. Oh, close enough. Okay. So if you wanted to get really super precise about these things, you could calculate. I'm going to switch this around. I think it's 90 degrees. No. There we go. You could actually calculate how thick they are and make them all proportionate and everything. I'm going to be doing a video a little bit later on proportions, so you can actually figure out how big to make things. And then once you build them, you know, if this whole thing is 6 feet tall, then how big do you need to inflate the individual balloons? So we'll be covering that soon. Okay, so now we're going to make the arms, and we're just going to do some simple garland arms. And the arms are going to come to just about the bottom of his shirt, about there. And we're going to lighten up the line color, whoops, about with all of them. The weight like that, and we're going to change it to blue. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and change the weight on all of these. There we go. I like that a little bit better. So we're going to copy and paste. We're going to give him 2 arms. Look at that, my little pink line shows up. And let's go ahead and give him some hands. So maybe that big. We're going to make them flesh-toned hands. Lighten up the line a little bit. I just realized that right there should be red. Okay, and I'm going to send his hands back so it's actually tucked into the arm a little bit. And let's go ahead and change this to red. Very easy to do. Okay, and so now we've got the hat. What do we want to do for the hat? Well, let's say, probably weave a hat maybe. Give it a little bit of a brim there. And do some red and white stripes. We can stripe it this way. White. You can select those and copy and paste them. And do it again. How high up do you want to go? Like that. And if you want the stripes to go the other way, you can select them. You can group it together and just give it a turn. So now you've got that. And if ending on different colors bothers you, you can copy and paste it and put it over there and balance it out a little bit. That, we can select it again. So you can see, you can spend a lot of time working on quotes. So I think the point here is more to communicate to the client that you're going to make a figure. It's going to be in these colors. There's going to be some features on there. I don't think sweating the details and making it exactly right is the best use of your time. But that's my opinion. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and group the whole thing together. And I'm going to lock my aspect ratio. Okay, so now we've got several figures that we've designed. And I'm going to go ahead and put them into a picture. Go ahead and select all these. We're going to group them and lock them in. And I'm going to go ahead and move these out of the way also. So I actually have a picture off my screen that I'm going to bring over to here. And this is actually one of my clients. I went inside the casino and took a picture of the entrance, and they said, Raquel, what can you do for the entrance? And I thought, well, this would be a cool place to hang, oh, I ungrouped them, to actually hang the flag. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll over here and grab this whole flag again and group it together, lock the proportions. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down a little bit. Okay, so now we can grab it and drag it in here. And it disappeared on me. Let's go ahead and select the picture and send the picture back. Okay. So I know, because I've done a lot of decor at this particular venue, that this beam here is 24 feet long. And if I remember correctly, the space between these lights is about 12 feet. Now, because I'm shrinking it down, my lines are getting really thick. I'm going to go ahead and lighten up. Is that going to work? Can I do it when it's grouped together? I thought I could. There it goes. So where was I? Okay, so I know this is about 12 feet across here. So working with my proportions, I know that if I draw a line about there, I can see, oh, I can see. All right, well, we can look up here. There's also little measurements down here that I can't see right now. I don't know why I can't see those, but we can look up here. So I know if this is 12 feet across, in reality, it's showing up as 3 feet, 3.14 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and pull into here just for a moment a little spreadsheet I created for myself that, can I grab it and move it? Huh, it's not letting me, oh, there it comes. Okay. So what I have found, what I've done is I've built this little spreadsheet, and it just helps me with proportions. So in reality, if that beam is, let's say, 12 feet long right there, and in my drawing, I know it's 3.14 inches, then, okay, so the beam is actually 24 feet, we'll call that, and between the lights was, I got ahead of myself here. So if I know the beam, and these aren't going to be right on, I would not, but it's close enough for balloon work. So if my beam is about 6.32 inches, 6.32 inches, that's the beam. In reality, that's 24 feet. In my drawing, what do we say it was? 3 something? If I go between my lights, yeah, 3.06. I think it was 3.12 earlier, but again, it's close enough. So let me get this back in the picture here. So between the lights is 3.06. Then it's saying that this is 22 feet. That's not right. Did I measure that correctly? Oh, this looks like 6 feet. Okay, so what happens when I'm actually doing this is I have 2 screens on my desk, and I'll actually have my spreadsheet on one screen, and I'll be running Publisher on my other screen, so I can be doing these. I'm trying to do it all in this one little screen so that you can see what I'm doing, so that's why I'm confusing myself here a little bit. So this should be 6.26 here. The drawing is 6.26 inches, so in reality that's 24 feet, and I know that because I've actually measured it. Okay, so as long as you've got one true measurement, you can, using proportions, using ratios, you can pretty much figure out what the rest of these numbers are. So I went ahead and shortened this up. So the distance between the lights is right around 3 inches. Okay, so that tells me it's about 11.5 feet right between there. And yeah, and I bet you they're 12 foot on centers is what that is. I know these can lights are hot, so I know I don't want to get too close to them. So we're probably going to pull it in a little bit more. Okay, so proportionally that's what we're looking at. So if I know I'm going to build these 7 columns, and there's going to be a little bit of spacing, yada, 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 how big are these balloons themselves? So if I select a balloon, it shows up here at 0.2 inches. So at 0.2 inches, if my drawing is at 0.2 inches, that's the balloon is going to be about 3/4 of a foot, because this is inches and these are feet down here in my ratios. I actually have formulas plugged into here. So that's, and I can show you in another video how to figure out the formulas. They're not that difficult. So that's how I know what these are. So this is about what's 3/4 of a foot? 8 inches. So if I inflate all these balloons to 8 inches, then it's going to fit right in between there with a little bit of a space between them. Okay, now let's say I wanted to do, let's say I only wanted them to go 9 feet across. So in reality, if it's 9 feet, then these are going to be 1.8 inches across here. My line is going to have to be 1.8 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and move that down to 1.8 inches, right? And that worked because I had my log aspect ratio. It's going to shrink it down proportionately. So that's what that would look like if I wanted it smaller. Or if the client wanted it smaller. If the client didn't want to pay for, 11-inch balloon size down, they only wanted to pay for 5-inch balloons, I can go ahead and scale that down and see what it would look like. So a single balloon now is 0.12 inches or 0.12 inches. So that's just under half a foot for the balloon. That's what, a 6-inch, 5.5, 6-inch balloon. So that's how that works. Oftentimes when I'm reading some of the posts on Facebook, one of the questions I get asked, or one of the questions I read a lot, is how big are those balloons? Well, here you go. This is how you can know how big the balloons are. So, okay, so I know that they like to put balloons down here. They like to put one here, and then around the corner over here somewhere is another one. So how big do we make these? I happen to know that when I'm standing next to this rock, my head's at the top, so I know this rock is about 5 feet tall. Okay, so I don't want my Uncle Sam to be that big. They tend to put sculptures about that big. So based on that, I can click on a balloon and I can see it's 0.13 inches, and based on our little spreadsheet over here, we know that's about half a foot. So I can go ahead and scale that. And if I wanted to know how big to make the arms, I can click on the arm and it's 0.06. And I could go over here and I could put in 0.06, and I can see it's about 1/4 of a foot. So that tells me that these are, what, 3-inch balloons here? So you see how that works proportionately? All right, let's zoom back out again. And we could do the same thing with our column too. I can take a look and I can see, oh wow, if this column were 10 feet tall, I wish I could set the defaults to be smaller. Well, now I changed my lines, they're smaller too, that's okay. Anyway, maybe the customer might want it near the podium. So there you go. And if you want to do these as little centerpieces, and we could do it that way too, and you could actually grab it and squish it up a little bit. I mean, you could change it any way you want. So anyway, the point here that I wanted to make was how to build a couple of different 4th of July pieces, a couple of different patriotic pieces. and then how to take a picture, superimpose it on the picture, and then how to know how big to actually inflate your balloons to get what you see here. So Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor.